the average American household is technically a millionaire. That's not a typo. According to the Federal Reserve's 2022 Survey of Consumer Finances, the average net worth of American households hit $1.06 million. The average, not the top 10%, the average. If you're watching this, you probably don't feel like a millionaire. Most people don't, because that number is deeply misleading. The median net worth, the actual middle of the distribution, where half of households sit above and half sit below, is just $192,700. That's a massive gap from the average, and it exists because a small group of extremely wealthy households at the top drags the average way up. The top 10% of American households hold about 67% of all wealth, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, which means the remaining 90% of households are splitting the leftover third. So when someone online tells you that becoming a millionaire is easy, that anyone can do it, that it's all about mindset, they're usually selling something. But here's what's actually interesting. When you dig into the real Federal Reserve data, not social media takes, not anecdotes from people pushing a product, but actual numbers from the most comprehensive financial survey in the country, clear patterns emerge in how real millionaires actually built their wealth. Not overnight windfalls, not lottery winners, not trust fund kids. Real people who built seven-figure net worths over decades through specific, identifiable behaviors. Today, we're breaking down 5 habits that show up again and again in that data, backed by real numbers from the Federal Reserve and the largest study ever done on American millionaires. No speculation, no motivational fluff, just what the data actually shows. First, what millionaire actually means. The word gets thrown around so casually online that it's basically lost meaning. When the Federal Reserve runs its survey of consumer finances every 3 years, millionaire status refers to household net worth, everything you own minus everything you owe. That includes home equity, retirement accounts, brokerage accounts, business ownership, vehicles, and cash, minus mortgages, student loans, car loans, credit cards, and any other debt. As of 2022, about 18% of American households qualified as millionaires under this definition, roughly 23.7 million households with a net worth over $1 million. By 2024, that number had climbed to about 23.8 million, according to UBS, with the U.S. adding roughly 379,000 new millionaires in 2024 alone. Worth noting, a big chunk of millionaire net worth sits in home equity and retirement accounts. These are real assets, but they're not exactly cash in hand. You can't touch your 401k penalty-free until 59.5, and you can't spend home equity without selling or borrowing against the house. Investable assets, money you can actually access and put to work right now, tell a somewhat different story. The definition matters depending on what kind of millionaire you're actually aiming to become. With that out of the way, let's look at what the data says about how these 23 million households actually got there. Habit 1, they save consistently, imperfectly, but persistently. The U.S. personal savings rate as of early 2025 sits at around 4.4%, according to the Bureau of Economic Analysis, meaning the typical American household saves roughly 4 cents of every disposable dollar. During the pandemic, that rate briefly spiked to 33.8% when lockdowns killed spending options and stimulus checks landed. But those savings have largely been spent, and we're back to the historical norm where most households save almost nothing. Federal Reserve data from 2024 shows only 55% of adults have set aside enough to cover 3 months of expenses. The other 30% have no cushion at all. Millionaire households behave very differently. The Ramsey Solutions National Study of Millionaires, which surveyed over 10,000 American millionaires, found that 3 out of 4 respondents pointed to regular, consistent investing over a long stretch of time as the single biggest factor in reaching their net worth. That's 75% naming the same thing, not stock-picking talent, not crypto bets, just consistency over time. When the study asked millionaires to rank what drove their wealth, financial discipline came in at number 1, and consistent saving came in at number 2. The Federal Reserve data backs this up. High earners, households pulling in $100,000 or more report dramatically higher emergency savings rates, with about 75% having 3 months of expenses saved, compared to just 24% of households earning under $25,000. But income alone doesn't explain millionaire status. The Ramsey study found only 31% of millionaires averaged $100,000 or more a year across their entire careers. A full third of millionaires never earned a six-figure salary in a single working year of their lives. The real differentiator isn't extraordinary income. It's not dropping the savings habit when life gets messy. When kids show up, when careers shift, when a recession hits, lower wealth households tend to save whatever's left after spending, and when pressure hits, savings vanish first because the budget has no margin to begin with. Higher wealth households treat savings as non-negotiable. It comes off the top before lifestyle spending ever gets a shot at it. Financial Samurai's analysis of wealth data found top 1% earners typically save around 38% of their income, against a national average of 4.4%. That gap compounds enormously over decades. The habit isn't perfection. It's not saving 25% starting at age 22. It's treating savings as structural rather than optional, adjusting the rate as circumstances shift, but never abandoning the habit completely. Habit 2, they actually invest. This is where the Federal Reserve numbers get genuinely striking. According to the 2022 Survey of Consumer Finances, direct stock ownership jumped from 15% to 21% of American families between 2019 and 2022. A 6 percentage point leap, that's the largest change on record since the survey began in 1989. That happened during a stretch that included a pandemic, a market crash, and historic volatility. More people than ever now hold stocks directly. Still, that means roughly 79% of American households own zero stocks directly. Factor in indirect ownership through retirement accounts like 401ks and IRAs, and participation climbs. About 54% of U.S. households had retirement account savings as of 2022, according to Congressional Research Service analysis of Fed data. But that also means nearly half of American households have zero retirement savings at all. Millionaire households look completely different. Per the Ramsey study, 8 out of 10 millionaires invested through their company's 401k plan, that's 80%, and 3 out of 4 also invested outside their workplace plan, through IRAs, taxable brokerage accounts, or other vehicles. When the study asked millionaires what drove their success, individual stock picking didn't even crack the top 3, and neither did any exotic strategy. What they pointed to instead was simply participation, staying invested through market cycles instead of trying to time entries and exits. Federal Reserve data shows portfolios shift dramatically as net worth rises. Richmond Fed analysis found households between the 25th and 50th wealth percentile hold most of their assets in vehicles and cash, low-yield holdings that barely grow. As you move up the wealth ladder, portfolios shift toward stocks, business equity, and real estate, with the top 1% holding dramatically more in business ownership and equities. Here's why that matters mathematically. Cash loses purchasing power over time. Bureau of Labor Statistics data shows $100 in January 2000 would need to be roughly $195 by December 2025 to buy the same amount, meaning cash sitting in a checking account lost nearly half its real value over 25 years, purely to inflation. Meanwhile, the S&P 500 has averaged roughly 10% annual returns over the past 30 years. Not every single year. Some years were brutal losses. But someone who stayed, invested rather than trying to dodge the downturns built real wealth while cash holders fell behind. The Ramsey study's takeaway is that millionaires aren't investment geniuses. They're not picking winners or nailing market timing. They're simply participating, getting invested, staying invested, and letting time do the compounding. The single most important investment decision you'll ever make isn't which stock to buy. It's deciding to invest at all instead of leaving your money sitting in cash. Habit 3, they use tax-advantaged accounts aggressively. This is where a lot of people overthink things. Online debates about Roth versus traditional accounts, tax bracket optimization, conversion strategies, withdrawal sequencing. These conversations have real value eventually, but they mostly just create paralysis for people who haven't started investing at all. The Federal Reserve data tells a much simpler story. According to the 2022 survey, median retirement account balances vary massively by wealth tier. Among households that have a retirement account, the median balance is about $87,000 nationally. But that number hides huge variation. Empower's personal dashboard data from Q1 2025 shows average 401k balances reaching $302,558 among its users, with average total retirement savings hitting $481,435. Granted, these are averages among people actively tracking their finances, so they likely skew above typical, but the underlying pattern holds. People building wealth tend to accumulate large retirement account balances. Congressional Research Service analysis found fewer than 10% of households have retirement assets exceeding $1 million. Even among households aged 55 to 64, peak accumulation years, only 9.2% had crossed that seven-figure mark in retirement accounts alone. But the households that did get there did it through decades of consistent contributions, not through spectacular returns. Tax-advantaged accounts do three things at once. First, they automate saving and investing, often through automatic payroll deduction. Second, they cut down on friction and leakage. Money that hits a 401k before it ever touches your checking account never has to compete with daily spending decisions. Third, they let your money compound without an annual tax bite. In a taxable account, gains generate a tax bill every year, while in tax-advantaged accounts that drag disappears, either deferred entirely in a traditional account or eliminated permanently in a Roth. Various analyses show that tax drag on investment gains can shrink your final wealth by 6 figures or more over a career. The exact number depends on your bracket, contribution levels, and time horizon, but it's a real, substantial cost. The Ramsey study backs this pattern up. Millionaires treat retirement accounts as core infrastructure, not an afterthought handled once everything else is covered. The optimization debates matter eventually. Roth conversions can be powerful, withdrawal sequencing in retirement matters, tax bracket management creates real value. But none of that matters if the accounts are empty in the first place. The first-order question is simply, are you consistently using the tax-advantaged space available to you? IRS data shows only about 14% of eligible workers max out their 401k contributions each year. The rest leave that space unused, building wealth more slowly in taxable accounts or not building it at all. Start with participation. Optimization comes later. Habit 4. They keep housing costs deliberately modest. When you picture a millionaire, you probably imagine a big house, a renovated kitchen, a nice neighborhood, maybe a second home somewhere warm. The data tells a different story. According to Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finance's data, millionaire households consistently carry lower housing cost-to-income ratios than non-millionaire households. Even though they could easily afford bigger mortgages, they choose not to stretch. Looking at debt-to-income ratios across net worth percentiles, a clear pattern shows up. As net worth climbs, debt burdens shrink. Housing debt becomes a smaller slice of income, and high net worth households stay far less squeezed by fixed monthly obligations. The Motley Fool's analysis of Fed data found that a primary residence makes up roughly 32% of a typical millionaire's net worth, meaning 2/3 of their wealth sits outside the home, in investable assets that actually generate returns and income. For non-millionaire households, that ratio flips. Home equity often represents the majority of their net worth, leaving very little in investable assets. The Ramsey study found specific housing patterns among millionaires. They buy a home once and stay put rather than constantly upgrading, and they pay off their mortgages ahead of schedule. Many were already millionaires before they ever upgraded their home. They didn't become millionaires by moving into a bigger house. That distinction matters a lot. Housing is typically the biggest line item in any household budget. Bureau of Labor Statistics data shows housing eats roughly 33% of average household spending, and it's often higher in expensive markets. When housing consumes 40% or more of gross income, everything else becomes nearly impossible. Retirement contributions shrink, emergency savings stall, and investing outside retirement accounts becomes unthinkable. But when housing stays around 25% of income, there's margin left for everything else. You can keep saving through income disruptions, keep investing consistently, and avoid high-interest debt because your cash flow gives you other options. The Federal Reserve's SHED survey found households spending more than 30% of income on housing report higher financial stress across every metric measured. They're more likely to miss bills, less able to absorb unexpected expenses, and more likely to carry expensive debt. Millionaires aren't depriving themselves of nice homes. Many eventually live somewhere very nice, but they get there after building wealth, not by stretching to afford more house than their finances actually support. The pattern is optionality over maximization. Keep housing costs low enough that cash flow exists for everything else. Habit 5, they stay invested for a very long time. This might be the most underrated factor in the whole dataset. Federal Reserve data shows the average age of a millionaire household head is about 61. Not 35, not 45, 61. Multiple analyses show 2/3 of American millionaires fall between ages 60 and 79. Only 9.8% are between 35 and 44, and millionaires under 35 are statistically rare. That directly contradicts the narrative you see all over social media, where 28-year-olds posing with rented Lamborghinis sell courses on getting rich fast. The Federal Reserve data suggests most wealth is actually built slowly, over decades, by people who simply never stopped. The Ramsey study found the average millionaire worked, saved, and invested for 28 years before crossing the $1 million mark. Many didn't hit that milestone until around age 49. 28 years. That's not an overnight story. That's nearly 3 decades of consistent behavior surviving recessions, market crashes, job changes, family expenses, and every other curveball life throws. Compounding works exponentially, not linearly. Basic investment math shows most of the growth in a typical portfolio happens in the final years, once the base is large enough that even modest percentage gains translate into huge dollar amounts. Someone with $100,000 invested earning 10% gains $10,000. Someone with $1 million earning that same 10% gains $100,000, identical percentage, wildly different dollar impact. That creates a frustrating stretch in your 20s and 30s where progress feels invisible. You're saving, investing, doing everything right, and your net worth still creeps forward slowly because the base is small. The millionaires in this data pushed through that exact stretch. They didn't ditch the strategy when progress felt slow. They understood wealth building as a 30 to 40-year project, not a 3 to 4-year sprint. According to the Fed's SHED survey, most people badly underestimate how long wealth building actually takes. They look at a millionaire and assume something dramatic happened: an inheritance, stock options, a business sale, a lucky break. The data says otherwise. The Ramsey study found 79% of millionaires received no inheritance at all. Not a small one, not a starter fund, 0. Only 21% received any inheritance whatsoever. Just 16% received more than $100,000, and only 3% inherited $1 million or more. 8 out of 10 millionaires built their wealth with no family money behind them. They earned it through the exact habits covered here: consistent saving, real investing, tax-advantaged accounts, controlled housing costs, and decades of sticking with it. The study also found 80% of millionaires came from families at or below middle income level, with only 2% coming from upper income families. The path to millionaire status doesn't require extraordinary starting conditions. The data proves that over and over. What this all adds up to: stepping back and looking at patterns rather than individual stories, the Federal Reserve data makes a few things clear. Millionaires aren't financial geniuses. They don't have perfect market timing. They don't use exotic strategies unavailable to everyone else. Most built their wealth through basic tools, low-cost index funds, employer 401k plans, straightforward diversification. They don't earn extraordinary incomes. Either most millionaires held ordinary professional jobs. Engineers, accountants, managers, attorneys, and teachers rounded out the top 5 professions in the Ramsey study, and only 15% held senior leadership roles like VP or C-suite positions. And they don't start with family money. The inheritance data is unambiguous, with 8 out of 10 getting nothing from family. They started exactly where everyone else starts. What actually separates them is behavior, sustained consistently over time. They save before they spend, instead of spending first and saving whatever's left. They invest instead of parking money in cash. They aggressively use tax-advantaged accounts instead of leaving that space untouched. They keep housing costs reasonable instead of stretching to the max they're approved for. And they stay invested for 20, 30, even 40 years, instead of bailing when progress feels slow or markets get scary. None of these behaviors require special access. None require a huge income. None require family wealth. What they require is patience, discipline, and understanding that building wealth is a decades-long process, not an overnight transformation. The median age of a millionaire is 61. That's not discouraging, it's clarifying. It tells you the path is long, but it's real. Someone who starts at 25 and sticks with it tends to hit millionaire status in their 50s. Someone who starts at 35 tends to hit it in their 60s. The compounding curve is identical either way, only the starting point changes. The Federal Reserve will run its next survey of consumer finances in 2025, with results likely landing in late 2026. When that data comes out, the patterns will almost certainly hold. Millionaires will still be older than social media makes it seem. They'll still have built their wealth slowly. They'll still point to consistency over brilliance because the underlying math hasn't changed. Compounding rewards time in the market more than perfect timing of the market. Dollar cost averaging works no matter what your starting balance is. Tax-advantaged growth beats taxable growth over decades, every time. The question was never whether becoming a millionaire is possible. The Federal Reserve data already proves 18% of households have done it. The real question is whether you're willing to commit to the behaviors that group shares and stick with them through decades of temptation to quit. The habits are clear. The data is unambiguous. The timeline is longer than most people want to hear, but the path exists, and unlike a lot of things in finance, it doesn't require luck, perfect timing, or special access. It just requires starting and not stopping.